Okay, hello and good evening. Welcome to the February 25th, 2013 Hillsborough Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on February 21st, 2013 to the Hillsborough Beacon and Courier News. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act, resolved by the Board of Education of Township of Hillsborough in the County of Somerset and the State of New Jersey as follows. A, the matters to be discussed are a student disciplinary matter, personnel sick bank request, and negotiations with the Hillsborough Principals and Supervisors Association. And B, the matters discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood?
Sure. Ms. Boguszewski? Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mrs. Haas? Mrs. Haley?
Here.
Mrs. Lay? Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Ms. Swanson?
Here.
Mr. Kent?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have quorum. Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We are now in closed session. We'll be back at 7:30. Okay, we're back from closed session. Mr. Mahmood, if may I have a roll call, please?
Surely. Ms. Boguszewski? Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mrs. Haas?
Mrs. Haas?
Oh, this is here.
Attendance.
Here.
Mrs. Haas?
Sorry.
Mrs. Haley?
Here.
Mrs. Lay?
Here.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Ms. Swanson?
Here.
Mr. Kent?
Here. We still have quorum. Okay. If we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the correspondences as attached in the agenda, and I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Schiff for the superintendent's report.
We'll start. Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to share some wonderful news with the board and with the community. The Somerset County on the status of women recently selected 2 district teachers as outstanding women in Somerset County for the 2013 year. Diane Leone was selected in a category of entrepreneur. Mrs. Leone is a teacher at Amsterdam School. And Tori Wargo, special education teacher at Triangle School, was selected in the category for education. Mrs. Leone and Mrs. Wargo will be honored in recognition of Women's History Month in March for their personal accomplishments and dedication to their profession. Congratulations goes out to both Mrs. Leone and Mrs. Wargo. Let's give them a big hand. It's also my distinct honor to share with you our Teachers of the Year. I want to preface this by saying we will have more of a formal recognition in the springtime for all of these teachers. However, we do want to announce it at this time. First, at Amsterdam Elementary School, Lisa Caudle, 4th grade teacher, is the Teacher of the Year there. Let's recognize Lisa. Wonderful job. At Aughton Road Intermediate School, Ann Cartmel, 5th grade teacher, Teacher of the Year. At Hillsborough Elementary School, Kara McKenna, 3rd grade teacher. At Hillsborough Middle School, Linda Suzo, speech and language specialist. At Sunnymead School, Maureen Mullen, 4th grade teacher. Triangle School, Sandra Smith, kindergarten teacher. At Woodfern Elementary School, Amy Fidicaro, 3rd grade teacher. And at Woods Road School, Amy Mealy, 2nd grade teacher. And it's my pleasure to announce the District Teacher of the Year, who is also the High School Teacher of the Year, Roberta Henry, Family and Consumer Science teacher at Hillsborough High School. The district's Teacher of the Year will be considered, among others, Somerset County teachers to become Somerset County Teacher of the Year. A New Jersey State Teacher of the Year is chosen from the 21 County Teachers of the Year. Mrs. Henry has taught Hillsborough Township Public Schools since 1996. She is currently a family and consumer science teacher and instructs students in a preschool and child development lab. For the past 12 years, Mrs. Henry has also taught self-contained special education students in courses in independent living. She continues to challenge her independent living students with new experiences, and this year she is participating in Phase 2 of the district's one-to-one pilot program. Congratulations to Mrs. Henry. Now, at this time, I'd like to shift gears and share with the board and the community an update on our district strategic plan. Let me just hold on for a moment. I want to make sure. Okay, we're all set. Okay. What I'd like to do is start off by walking you through each of the 3 areas of the strategic plan, sharing with you what we have done and what we plan on doing in the future. After this conversation, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kintz to facilitate a discussion on values and priorities. But in preparation for that, we thought it would be a good idea to share with you where we are within our strategic plan. As I hope you're aware, we have 3 different areas in our strategic plan: operations, education, and human resources. First, in operations. We had within our strategic plan three main areas that we focused on: school finance, facilities, and governance. In the area of school finance, what we've been working on is what we're currently doing, which is aligning our appropriations to the strategic plan, informing our expenditures based upon the priorities that have been board approved through the strategic planning process. We have also had 2 straight years of either being at or below a 2% increase or below cap. This, by the way, at a time when other costs are increasing well beyond the 2% cap. We've also focused on generating revenue, in particular in our Children at Play program. In the 2011-2012 year, we had 28 students participate across 3 schools. This current year, we have 58 children participating in 4 schools, and during our kindergarten registration process, I'm pleased to say that we had 83 people, 83 families that expressed interest in the program. So we anticipate that we'll be expanding. We've also implemented a new software budgeting process called Systems 3000, which helps us to budget more efficiently and transparently. We continue to find our efficiencies in our budgets through cooperative purchasing, healthcare cost sharing, and this past year we changed healthcare providers. In terms of what we plan to do in the future, we want to do what we're doing today, which is revisit our strategic plan in order to guide our funding priorities. We anticipate that our budget for next school year will either be at or below cap. We want to expand the Children at Play program to more schools, possibly to all 6 elementary schools. And we are exploring the possibility of hosting an adult school within the district. And this year, as was discussed in previous board meetings, we have done a transportation efficiency analysis, and the board has approved changes in starting times at the middle school, which we anticipate will save our district close to $1 million next year. In terms of facilities, some of the things that we have done is the board has received a list of facility needs in priority order. In terms of going green, we've completed our first round of energy audits, and a district-level green committee has been established. Mr. Mahmood is chairing that committee. And we have deposits in the capital reserve at $1.5 million, which can be used for future capital projects. What we plan on doing is increase our funding in the budget. This is what the board will be considering, of increasing our funding to $750,000 for high priority capital projects in next year's school budget. As far as going green, we want to address our facility needs and improve our efficiencies without increasing property taxes. One way that we can do that is by implementing an energy savings improvement plan, or an ESIP. And the board, the board has approved, the Operations Committee has approved us going out and soliciting the services of an energy savings company, or an ESCO, to shepherd us through the process of an ESIP. We will also be looking at, in the future, to increase conservation measures throughout the district. In terms of governance, what we have done is we've aligned our board committee structure now to the strategic plan. Our 3 standing committees, Education, Human Resources, and Operations, are directly aligned to the strategic plan. What we plan on doing is providing the board with a summary of all committee action items for the current year as a means to inform the board's annual self-evaluation process. When we look at where we are in the area of human resources, we had 3 major areas that we focused in on. The first was teacher evaluation process. We have a new state law that requires that all teachers and certificated educators, as well as administrators, be evaluated on a new model. And we have made a great deal of progress in that area, as well as look at our media centers and make sure that we're preparing our students for 21st century learning. In terms of the teacher and administrator evaluation plans, what we have done so far is we've established the District Evaluation Advisory Committee, which is required by law in order to advise the administration, the board, and ultimately the public on the direction that we'll be taking with our new teacher evaluation model. We have adopted a new model. This is the STRONG model, S-T-R-O-N-G-E. That was recommended by the DEAC committee and approved by the board in January. And we developed a plan to pilot this STRONG model, and that has begun already. There are many different steps that we're currently looking at. The first is to set up the OASIS tool. The OASIS is the online evaluation system, and that's kind of the back office work that we had to do in order to set up all of that. We also have a new process required by law to establish school improvement panels, or SIPs, at each of our schools, and that has been done as part of the pilot. We selected pilot teachers. The evaluators, which are all the administrators, had to be trained, and that has occurred in order to make sure that when one evaluator is observing instruction, a different evaluator would evaluate it similarly. That's called building inter-rater reliability. All of our administrators, have gone through that program and are currently certificated. Today, actually, we trained all of the pilot teachers and SIP teachers. The DEAC committee had been trained about a month ago. We will be scheduling lesson learned meetings with all of the stakeholders that are involved in this pilot process and report our progress to the Human Resources Committee. We're currently developing a plan to fully implement the STRONG model beginning in September of next school year, including all the trainings that need to be completed, communications. We have an evaluated calendar that Mr. Whitlock is developing for us, and we will be providing periodic feedback. We will be receiving periodic feedback from the DEAC, SIPs, and the leadership team in order to improve our evaluation model as we go along. What we're planning on doing is to fully implement the pilot program. We're going to start to observe teachers during the month of March, and that will continue throughout the spring. Once we complete the pilot process, we'll be fully implementing the STRONG model for all certificated staff members beginning in September, and all of those items that I shared with you on a previous slide need to be addressed. We'll be carefully monitoring the implementation of this. We're going to be increasing communications about how well this is working and make sure that we're listening carefully to all of the teachers that are involved in the process. Finally, one of the important values of the new teacher evaluation model is that it will inform professional development. So based upon the analysis of how we're evaluating teachers, we'll know how to resource better certain areas that we find of need throughout the district, using the building as the unit of analysis. In the Media Center, what we have done already is that the board has received a report discussing the needs for preparing the students for 21st century learning. And what we have planned to do is we've put some recommendations into the budget for the 2013 school year that reflect some of the needs that were itemized in the report. Finally, in the area of education, we have 4 different sub-areas that we are looking at, including staff development, program, technology, and student achievement. By the way, this report will be placed on the website, so if you wish to go through it and take notes, it'll be available for you. I know that I'm moving quite quickly through it. In terms of staff development, one of the things that we have been working on is implementing the teacher training teacher model. We're actually very proud of this program. We have more than 320 courses that have been developed and offered for teachers throughout the district. These are courses that are offered at a time that is convenient for teachers versus time that's convenient for the organization. They have been well attended, and we look forward to continuing that process. We've also instituted a Summer Leadership Institute for all of our district administrators and leadership team. And this will now be the 2nd year, and we're currently planning for that. Some of the things that we're planning on doing is to continue to provide this type of flexible, differentiated, teacher-supportive staff development program through the teacher training teacher model. And we're also exploring a teacher leadership academy. We're beginning in the kind of the planning stages of that, but we look forward to pulling more of that together as we enter into next year and beyond. As far as programs is concerned, we have put into place a new world language program at the elementary levels, Chinese and Spanish. That began this year, and it's off to a great start. The World Language Task Force also has made specific recommendations to the Education Committee about how we wish to articulate Chinese through the district and increase world language competencies. As far as the STEM program is concerned, we had a task force that looked at middle-level STEM, and the presentation was made to the Education Committee, the full board, and the public, and the board approved the STEM program for all middle school students beginning September of 2013, and we're excited to begin that program. What we're planning on doing is to present the final recommendations of the World Language Task Force to the Education Committee and the full board to implement any improvements, additions, modifications for next year. And we are currently budgeting in what we're presenting to the board for its consideration an additional 2 Chinese teachers for the 2013-2014 school year. We also plan on implementing fully the Hillsborough Middle School STEM program for next year. That includes training up all the teachers, writing the curriculum, purchasing materials and supplies, and doing some room renovations. Technology, what we've done recently, we've done actually a great deal of work in this area, but this school year, all teachers were provided with laptop, tablet computers, and we're trained on them, and now they are ubiquitous wherever you go. In fact, if you take a look at some of our audience members, they are currently using them. We have implemented, we've implemented phase 2 of our one-to-one student initiative. We currently have 120 devices at ARIS, same amount at the middle school, and double 240 devices at the high school. We are looking at how we effectively integrate technology to enhance student learning, and we're monitoring 2 different devices. One is the iPad, the other is the Chromebook. What we're planning on doing in this area is budgeting to help ensure that we provide supports for our teachers in terms of their training on integration of technology, as well as provide technical support for them to make sure that everything works well. We need to produce a phase 2 evaluation report of the one-to-one initiative that will include survey analyses, the student achievement analysis. We will synthesize stakeholders' observations of the one-to-one. We will articulate what are lessons that we learned through it and prepare for the implementation of Phase 3. Phase 3 is doubling basically what Phase 2 was. So rather, the 120 devices represents approximately 10% of our students. We're going to double that to about 20% of all students in grade 5 through 12 will be part of the pilot. The following school year 14-15, is what we plan on full implementation, where every child in grades 5 through 12 would have a one-to-one device. In the area of student achievement, the final area that I'll be covering tonight, what we've done is we've aligned all of our curriculum to the common standards, as well as to the core curriculum content standards, which are our New Jersey state standards, as well as the Common Core standards in language arts and mathematics, which are the national standards. We're continuing to develop common assessments across all grades and discipline areas. The reason that we're doing that is to increase the consistency of expectations throughout the district, and also to help us analyze how we can best address the needs of our kids. And we're in the process of developing a common assessment analysis tool, which will provide teachers with timely and targeted feedback that is new and not readily available for teachers to help address needs in different ways. We are continuing with our professional learning communities, and this is an opportunity for teachers to learn and to share from each other best practices in order to help best address the needs of our kids. We will also be using state and other, currently use state and other assessments to target interventions. And we do that through very comprehensive analysis of all state achievement data. Some of the things that we're planning on doing is piloting the Common Assessment Analysis Tool with the teachers that are part of the teacher evaluation pilot. We will be taking a look at our intervention programs to make sure that we best address the needs of the students who struggle the most within our district. We will continue our comparative student achievement analysis. However, this year the state of New Jersey is providing us with new statistics, including student growth profiles, as well as a like school analysis, which is maybe taking the place of what we have called district factor group analysis. So we'll need to analyze all of that information. And now at this point, this concludes my my kind of review of where we are with our strategic plan, what we have accomplished, and where we anticipate going. Now at this point, I'll turn it over to our president to lead us in a conversation about our vision and priorities.
Thank you, Dr. Schiff, for presenting the strategic plan, the progress that we've made to date, and where we intend to go. So as been presented, we have segmented the district in 3 different segments. Operations, which includes finance, facilities, and government. Education, which includes staff development, program, technology, and student achievement, and human resources, which includes teacher evaluation, administration, evaluation, and the media center. Over the past couple months, over the past many months, we've solicited input from the public with regard to this upcoming budget. Within the past month, each of the committees have met multiple times to discuss the upcoming budget and what the priorities were from the administration, and they also had opportunities to provide their input within each of those committees. So now is an opportunity for board members to share amongst us all with the public, now that we're starting to compile and consolidate all these different groups. A lot of the different segments, activities that are going on actually span a couple different committees, so this is actually an opportunity for us to look at things more holistically as well. And this is in the context of our upcoming budget for the 2013-2014 year. And as we discussed at the last meeting, this week we find out what the state aid numbers are. The operations committee will be meeting Saturday to work on the tentative budget, for which we'll incorporate the input from the individual committees and then also from this discussion that we're having here. And it's going to be in the context of the budget, which is paid for by the taxpayers, whether it's through property taxes locally or through state income taxes. So with that, I will open it up. So for if you'd like to share what your thoughts are, where your values, where priorities are, what do you think is most critical, that'd be great. Not everyone at once. Mr. Pulsifer.
Just two things that probably jump out to me. I mean, there's a lot of things we have to worry about, but I think one thing that's important, and we've done a lot so far with our technology initiatives, but I think it's really important that we stay with that. That's the kind of thing where when we start that, it's a good idea, but if we don't follow through on it, it's going to fall flat, but there's still a lot of expense tied to it. And I don't think I don't have any problem with the expense, but I think we need to stay with that. It's a good program, it's good for the students, and it's good for the district, but we have to continue on a yearly basis to address that technology, not just in terms of the devices themselves, but in training and staff to support that and continue that to grow. If we don't do that, we're going to fail, but we'll spend a lot of money doing it. So I think it's important that we keep that in mind. The other thing that comes home to me, and I don't know how it all worked out in terms of the final recommendations, but a few years ago when the budget was cut, and the state aid was cut, and we got really hammered here, we lost, I believe, 66 positions. And that's not something we can make up in a year or two, or probably even 3. But I think we want to bear in mind that we really needed those positions at the time, and we need them now. So every year we should be looking to try and make sure we get back to where we should have been, and maybe even further ahead of that to where we should be now. And I think from what I've seen that we are making some progress on that, but I think, you know, there was a big hole we got thrown into there, and it's important that we sort of dig ourselves back out of that hole. Thank you.
Mr. Gillette.
All right. Thank you. Well, first I'd like to say about technology, I don't think we know at all whether it's worthwhile yet, but I'm willing to give it another year or 2 or 3, whatever the administration recommends, because I do agree with Mr. Pulsifer that once we started it, we should continue for a while to give it a chance. But I don't know of any studies that have shown that it does anything yet. I think it's new for across the country. So we'll see. I've been looking for some studies or something, and I don't think there are anything that proves definitively whether it's helpful for teachers or students, but it's something good to try. It is worthwhile to try, and the expense can be managed, so that's good. The other thing about the teachers, yes, 66, not just teachers, but 66 staff members in 2010. I think, you know, next year we'll have maybe like 400 fewer students than we had in 2010, approximately. I don't know, something like that. It's several hundred. When we lost those 66 staff members, I thought maybe that would, you know, maybe take 10 years to get back, and I thought that would have been fine. I'm concerned with adding staff members too quickly every year, and I'll give you the reason why. When we see things like, we had a tremendous expense in curriculum writing last year, and now this year in the upcoming budget that we're working on, we won't. But to use all of that money for new staff, I think, can be dangerous, because in a couple of years, we're going to need to do a big push in curriculum writing maybe, and then where will that money come from? So I think there has to be some balance, not to so quickly use savings that we generate maybe from what we think are non-recurring costs, and to use those, put those all into what I would like to think of our staff as perpetually recurring. I don't like to ever imagine, again, going through a massive layoff like we did in 2010. So I think a slow and steady approach, maybe I'm a little more conservative in that regard, but I think we have made some progress and to getting back the staff that we need. And as Dr. Schiff has mentioned a few times over the last couple of years, when we add that staff back, it hasn't been exactly the same type of positions that we lost. It's our makeup of our student body has changed, our direction has changed with technology. So I think we're doing it in a smart way. So I value that we're doing it, we're taking a smart approach to adding back the staff. One other thing I wanted to mention about that we mentioned about the world language. This is sort of a left turn from what I was just saying. I was in favor, absolutely, of restarting the world language at the elementary level. We had to do that. That's required. And we did have a survey of the public. Was it public parents? I'm not sure, but the public. And of which languages they would like to see. And Spanish came in, if you recall, first by a lot. And then there were some other languages down at the bottom. The one that came in second was Chinese, so we added Chinese, and I was in favor of that. But in my mind, Chinese is just such a different language and such a specialized language that I would also take a careful approach to how much we spend on Chinese. I don't know what level of proficiency we'll ever be able to acquire with Chinese. I think if you're interested in Chinese and you've had it in elementary school and that's something you want to pursue, just like a lot of activities that kids do, parents can find a way to teach their children Chinese if that's what they want to pursue. I'm on the fence about whether we should continue it into the other grade levels. I'll tell you, as far as the European languages go, I think that they bring something to our school education, which is, let's put it this way. I think whatever culture, there's something I said to Mr. Kinst on the phone today. Maybe I won't say it in exactly the same way, Mr. Kinst. But whatever you want to think of American culture, whatever it may be, it has more to do with, is more derived from European culture than Chinese. And I think that the culture that we have in the US, our values, can be enhanced through the study of the European languages. And to the extent that the introduction of Chinese is going to push the other languages out of our schools, I would be against that. Thank you.
Mrs. Haley.
It's really exciting for me as a board member. This is my second year on the board to see how far our district really has come, and we've made amazing strides in the areas of improving our world language, readmitting our elementary world language program. You have to give our teachers so much credit because implementing as much technology as quickly as we have, and they've done a fantastic job with turning around, taking the time to learn the equipment and really integrating it into their programs. I think that, shows a lot of courage and our values that we have in our district. One of the priorities, though, for me is also kind of sitting back and playing devil's advocate sometimes with the fact that we should be proud that we're taking the initiatives to find cost savings and to look at opportunities to drive some revenue into the district. And I don't necessarily want to just say that those savings and that revenue should be automatically spent in the budget the following year. I think that there should be a cautious approach of making sure that we could bank some of that and add that into capital improvements or high priority projects, because I think that even though we've made significant strides in 2 years that I've been on the board with capital planning, we still do have a long way to go. So I always want to try to be cautious when it comes to making sure that we don't just take all the money that we've found and worked very hard to identify at finding and just putting it into the budget right away. And then, of course, one final comment is, obviously, we're going to have to see what happens Friday, not necessarily in New Jersey, but in Washington, and how cuts could really impact our special needs programs. And unfortunately, now I think Mr. Mahmood probably has to add maybe a slight addendum into our budget just in case those things come through. So those are things that, we can't predict what's going to happen, but we have to prepare for.
Mrs. Swanson.
It's been a very interesting year on the board. We've made a lot of strides, and we've heard a lot of comments from the public, not as many as I would like, or any of us would like, but I think two areas specifically that I wanted to speak to is, you know, at one of my first board meetings, a teacher came up and said that she felt that we were failing math students at the high school by not offering different levels of college prep courses. I've heard from many parents in the district that they feel that we do a great job, probably in the top 10% and then in the bottom 10%. But you know, there's a wide range in the middle that we're not doing enough for. And I've heard many stories of kids who come out of transitional math in middle school and they're doing great, and they go into high school. And this is probably not just with math, but with other courses too. But then they're thrown in with a larger pool of kids with a higher student to teacher ratio, and the teachers can only do so much. And I know that the budget now currently is asking for 5 additional math-specific staff at the high school, and maybe we can do something about that. And I am very supportive of doing what we can for that middle 75 to 80%, and making sure that we're challenging those students that can be challenged, and that we're helping those students who need help. And then the other piece that I believe Jen started to speak to is our facilities. I had the great opportunity to go to many swim meets at different places, with my daughter being on the swim team, and making it to the state semifinals before losing to Westfield, unfortunately. But there are some amazing high schools out there. Hillsborough does not count among them, and many of our facilities go into various states of disrepair. Obviously, you know, we've had gyms, and we have these rolling projects, but I don't think we should be having buckets in the hallways before we actually act on these things. So I do think that while our capital project planning has been better, I think we really have to look to the age of some of our schools specifically, and what our long-term plan is. Obviously, that's not going to be covered in next year's budget. But we do have to find those cost savings or innovative ways of raising funds outside of the taxpayer, traditional taxpayer model, in order to ensure that our facilities are going to withstand the test of time. Thank you.
Our student representative, sir.
I just wanted to second the first thing that was said about the math, because personally I was in honors for middle school and then high school until junior year. I dropped down to CP, and just the difference, and this was from a lot of kids. I mean, I noticed that a lot of kids did it that year too, and just for me personally, the gap was extreme. Like it was just like there needed to be I felt this for a while, that there needed to be a higher mid-range level, or I don't know, but I know that there would be enough students that would like fall like to not quite at the pace of the honors or the AP, but higher than the CP levels. It's too much of a variation in the CP classes.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Lay.
Thank you, Jake, because I have always felt strongly about that middle group of students. And I think that as a board, if we look at, if we target measuring student achievement and we have, it's clearly in our goals, district goals. So now we have that Genesis system. We have the student information system that allows us to collect the grades. And what I think is important is timely intervention. So when we can know if the students have really mastered their concepts, because that allows them to learn at their highest level. And we don't want any students to be falling through the cracks. So wherever we need to prioritize in our budget, I ask, the operations committee first to look at areas that help student achievement. So for example, when we talk about successful integration of technology, what would that mean? It could be how we use the pilot so that there is targeted intervention, or that we do that flip of the classroom so that if they don't understand the course material, they can go home and review and make sure that they really know the content. So that's where, if we have to choose, again, I concur with Dr. Soisson on the math, because it's just so disheartening that more than 50% of our students need remedial math, the ones that enter Raritan Valley. And I know at this stage we have to tackle that problem at the high school level, but if we intervene at earlier stages, we wouldn't have that statistic in our district, or we hope not to. So that anytime we talk about what we need to choose in our budget, if we can keep that in mind to consider what floats up as staying in the budget as opposed to what we have, if we have to cut, think about measuring student achievement as the priority. And when I first came on the board, I asked to be on the facilities committee because of the conditions in the school. And we have made some progress. We've had a couple of roof repairs, but I think it's been more reactive than planning and making sure that we hit our priorities every year. So if we can allot money for that, that would be a wise thing to do.
Thank you, Mrs. Lai. Ms. Santafonte.
Just keep going. I think we all have the same vision in the end, and it's what's right for the school and the students. On a personal note, I want everyone to know, because where there is no study break for the technology end, the parents of the children on the one-to-one pilots are thrilled to death with the program. You can't measure anything other than what the parents say right now, and the parents will tell you that the children are much more independent. They work independently. Huh?
A little closer.
A little closer, sorry. The parents say that the children are working much more independently, and that grades that children, I guess courses that children don't usually achieve well or achieve high in, they're getting A's. And so it's very early, and there is no study other than right now there is a lot of positive feedback from the parents on the program, and would be very sorry if we didn't continue to move forward on that. So I think it's worth at least figuring out the best way to do it. It's like with everything, the best way for everyone involved. We say this with every position. We all want to put more positions back into the district. Again, is it the right position for the right goal of the district? We may call it one thing. Is it just the right position? Is it the right school? Can it be shared? Whatever. Just being creative in how we put the positions back in. And then in the world language program, I guess there's been a lot of concern about where we're going with the world language program, and where people think Chinese is very, what was the word that was used? Progressive. People are very happy that it's a progressive district in terms of world language. There is a grave concern for altering, I guess, the curriculum and children not being exposed to all the languages. And I'd like us to think about that as we're going forward, and how can we make sure that the children are exposed to the languages. I know the state has declared we should be proficient. I think it's hard to ask a child in 5th grade to pick a language and stick with it till 8th grade when they're not asked to stick with a language that long in high school. They have the chance to switch out in high school, and I understand that, but I think there is concern amongst many families that we're not going to teach our children all the cultures and all the languages. And again, I'm not sure the best way to put that in, whether we have to rotate it earlier, because I do know that the goal is to teach language and get them proficient and learning it by 10. I mean, I know the earlier we teach them, the better, but there is a lot of concern amongst the community that we may be altering the program and not doing that. So just when we're putting it together to make sure we are not missing that.
Thank you. I'll
I'll jump in real quick. Just to, there's a recurring theme that basically we want the best for the kids that are coming out of this district, and whether that is to go on to college or to go into the workforce right out of high school, we want to make sure that the kids are prepared. And part of that is an acknowledgement that the environment's different, the world is different than it was 5 years, 10 years ago. And so you're seeing that with the increase focus in addition at middle school with STEM. The world's becoming more technological. As they grow up with it, it becomes second nature, but still there are aspects to it from a working perspective. From an international perspective, I've been supportive of adding Chinese. I've seen it firsthand where, before people have thought, well, you're just going to offshore manufacturing for China for cheaper pieces. What I'm seeing now is actually American businesses going to China to do business in China to generate revenues from the Chinese for our American businesses, and that's actually where our fastest growing segments, or at least from a geographical perspective, is. So to be able to provide our students with the opportunity, it doesn't have to be mandatory for there, but at least the opportunity to have exposure to that, and the opportunity to become proficient in at least one language, I think will set them up for success, again, whether it's for college or in the workforce thereafter. I've also been very supportive of the pilots that we're doing. So we are trying to move the ball. We're trying to do it in a smart way. Part of that also is generating data and then acting on that data. So the strategic plan that we have is for the next 5 years. How quickly we achieve those parts, I think, is up for debate and up for discussion. And I want to make sure that as we get the results from the pilots, that's what we're acting on. So again, the rate at which you expand the pilots, I think, can be discussed and can be optimized. I also want to acknowledge that there is stress in the system. Leadership is, management is managing complexity, leadership is managing change, and this district has seen a lot of change over the past 2 years and will continue to see another year of great change. So we acknowledge the stress in the system, and we are trying to support that with the different aspects that are part of the strategic plan, with staff development, with the evaluation, and then also with the finance and student achievement. So I think the budget that we have, and more importantly, the strategic plan we have, is very holistic and is advancing not only the district, but then the opportunities for the students within. So, Mrs. Haas, you have yet to chime in.
I feel obligated to throw my 2 cents in, but I have to say I agree with everything Tom just said. I thought everything was very, very well put. In my 8 years on the board, I don't think I've ever seen as much change as there has been in the past year. It's been huge, and it's been fast, and there are a lot of very, very good things attached to that, and there's also a lot of stress attached to that. And I think that, it's very, very important that we address both. I think in terms of values, I guess my values haven't changed in 8 years. I'm still in favor of reasonable class size, which amazingly we haven't talked about at all this year. So I assume everything's fine with that, but I still think under the headline of reasonable class size, and to jump on what Lorraine said before, expecting teachers to quote unquote differentiate when you have 25 kids of wide skills within a classroom trying to learn a subject and then infuse technology and infuse everything else you have to infuse is a huge task. And I think we have to give a great deal of respect for all the teachers who take that challenge upon themselves every single day of the week. I think it's very important to have an affordable, responsible budget. I think most important, in terms of overall comment, we need to have an environment where every single child is afforded the opportunity to meet their maximum potential. And in that meeting their maximum potential, I would include becoming a very successful world citizen, as well as there being equity within the system. Not every kid's going to be a rocket scientist, and I think we have to make sure that every single kid has opportunities for success in various areas. Every single kid needs to have an opportunity to go home at the end of the day feeling that they had a productive day at school, go home happy, go home proud of themselves, and pleased with whatever it was that they managed to learn that day. Because learning, after all is said and done, is a little bit of a miracle. And, you know, we have to give our kids a lot of credit for the hard work that they do, and our teachers credit for the hard work that they do in terms of getting a lot of material into youthful heads that might prefer to be doing something else. In terms of technology, I don't really have much detail on this, but I know in New York, Michael Bloomberg just announced that several of his schools would be dedicated strictly to tech. And while we're taking the approach of introducing tech into everything, I sort of like the idea of focusing a little bit of the tech discussion into tech careers and prepare kids for tech careers, because that seems to be the only thing in the help wanted ads these days, other than certain school positions, which, whatever. But, you know, I like the idea of focusing on tech careers. My concern with our tech program right now, and with great respect for what Dina said about how kids are feeling very successful about it, my concern is what happens to these kids when they don't have their tech. And I think part of the issue about Raritan Valley and kids not doing well in the math exam is because we're letting kids use calculators, and then they face a test, either the SAT or the college admission test, where they're not allowed to use calculators. And all of a sudden, all of that routine and the drilling and whatever is not there to help them. So I think we have to be a little bit careful in our tech program and tech progress, and to make sure that our kids are equally prepared when they don't have tech at their fingertips. I would also like to see some of the centralized tech saving us money. In terms of administration, we've provided, you know, tons of technology to our staff, and we've invested in payroll systems, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to know what cost savings have generated from that. I know we've saved a lot of money in paper, given that none of us have packets anymore, but let's quantify that and let's let the public know. And I guess my second to last comment on that is, let's let the public know what's going on here, because I think in the area of communication, we should do a lot more in terms of getting the word out and letting people know, you know, I'm not a parent of a child in the system right now, and the fall off once your kid graduates is incredible. I mean, you just don't hear things from your kids anymore, and you don't have that friend network. So it would just be nice for the non-parents and the senior citizens and the young parents in town to get more information about the school district. And I know Jen mentioned capital budget. Capital budget cannot be the annual last priority. And I guess that would be my final thing to say. Capital is always whatever money's left over, let's see what we could do capital, because the list is always longer than the amount of money that there is for capital expenditures. So I hope that that will not be our last priority this year, and that we find ways to get things done that need to get done. And I think we're on the right path, so I'm happy about that.
Any follow-ups from anyone? Okay. I want to thank each of the board members for the opportunity to express your thoughts, values, priorities as we enter the budget schedule in its finality. So again, the 26th, which is when tomorrow, is governor's address. Then we get the budget numbers on Thursday, the 28th. On March 2nd, the Operations Committee will meet to draft the tentative budget, which will be presented on Monday, March 4th. Based on the input from the board there, then that will get incorporated into the final budget, and that will be presented on March 21st. So, thank you, and we'll continue on with the agenda. Okay, we're done with the superintendent's report. Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes, we have the February 11, 2013 regular minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion. Okay, all right, we'll do that. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Okay, in a second? Okay. Okay, and then there were some corrections to the minutes that Dr. Swisson forwarded on.
Yes, we had a parent come to the podium and ask that board consider having a varsity team.
For robotics, to get a letter.
For robotics.
I remember
Her
that,
name
yeah.
was misspelled. It was Jolene Galovich. And those changes were sent today. And those were
Okay, and they'll be revised and included in that. Any other discussion with regard to the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that motion passes. Okay, now we move on to the area of the agenda for public input. So first, we'd like to have public input on the 2013-14 school budget. So for those in the audience who have public input, if you can state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Judd Mandel. I'm at 24 Fieldheads Drive. And I appreciated the visioning. That was very helpful. And I certainly agree with Judith, because that one-size-fits-all education for all of our children is dangerous. Because if the system is just bringing children in and teaching them, all right, you're all going to learn this, you're all going to copy this, you're all going to be able to pass this exam. All of my 3 children growing up differently, I don't want them to all learn the same information. The teachers need to be able to recognize special talents. The children should be able to choose areas of expertise that they enjoy, because a joyful learning experience is deeper than them having to learn what the system is making them learn. So that area of maybe having a technology or workshops or robotics come in so that the younger children are learning how to fix bicycles or, change the wheels on skateboards. And then that grows into, well, what if we wanted to have the skateboard float? What could we do with that? And so it stimulates their education because they're doing hands-on projects that they like, and they go home and they talk about it. So to me, that's a big step in the right direction. And that one-size-fits-all feels scary for everybody. That's my comment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mandel. Any other public comments with regard to the 2013-14 budget? Okay, moving on, we have public input on new business. We've got Team 75 coming back up. All right.
Hello, I'm Alina, and this is Jane, and we are representatives from the Hillsborough High School robotics team. In the last meeting, we briefly discussed that our team was approaching the end of our build season.
So this past Tuesday, we had our official ship date event at J&J Skillman. It was a huge success, and we unveiled our robot to press, corporate, family, and friends. Later that night, we bagged and tagged our robot, meaning we sealed it in a bag and we were forced to stop working on it. We've worked many late nights at the warehouse in preparation for this event, and now that we've finished our six-week build season, we are looking forward to our competition season.
So on a separate note, last year we had a science fair that was available to members of the Hillsborough School District. We partnered with the Somerset Library, and but this year we are hoping to expand, and any students from the 5th grade or to 12th grade in the Somerset County can participate.
It will be held at our local high school in the cafeteria area on March 9th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you know anyone that's interested in signing up, please direct them to our website at roborators.com and have them sign up before the deadline this Saturday. At this event, we'll also be demonstrating our robot and opening it to the public, so if any of you are free on the morning of March 9th, feel free to drop by. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good luck with the games. Okay. No other new business. Now we'd like to solicit. Oh. All right.
On a roll today. There's just something that I wanted to talk about. It's been discussed at the high school already, and an aspect of it has been discussed here. It's about high school, the parking situation. And I know that, or I think that there's been discussion in the past about building an extra lot, but since, and which I would, in an ideal world, that would be the best situation, but I don't know all the costs, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. So for this meeting, and I can look into that and maybe come back with a compelling argument for a lot, but for this meeting I'll talk about something that doesn't have to do with money and reforms that I definitely think should happen and easily could happen for the parking. And I was one of the many disgruntled seniors who did not get a parking pass, who feel like they deserved a parking pass. Fortunately, it's on the waiting list, and I was high enough, and I got one for the spring. But I feel like this is a situation with a lot of potential for good. I know personally a lot of students who had passes in the fall who definitely took advantage. I know just friends who got multiple pink slips, and those are just people I know personally. I'm sure there are more, and then these same people were still given parking passes for the spring. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I know it isn't possible to make, it's impossible to make everyone happy, but like I said, I feel like there's a lot of potential, and I feel like we can encourage students to get involved and reward them for being involved by giving them parking passes. I know I'm involved in student council and sports and many clubs, and when for the 2.5 weeks I didn't have the parking pass, I was very stressed getting rides. I had to walk home, and I had to, beg for rides someday, because it's not an easy walk in the cold. And I know that is the same situation for many people. And I know that there's a lottery, but I feel like at least it could be just adjusted to give people who are involved in clubs just a better chance, kind of like the NBA lottery, just for a good example. Just the lower records get your name put in more, and that's fair. And I just don't know. I mean, there's no sense in not doing that, because I'm not saying. I kind of am saying that some people do deserve the parking passes more. Not just me, and many kids in clubs are just giving back to the school, and they should be rewarded with the pass, and if not, just we can get the extra parking lot. But.
Okay, thanks. I'll defer that to the administration, and if it makes it to the operations committee.
I would just suggest, if you haven't already done so, to bring up the concern with the principal of the high school and to talk, through student council and other things. This particular body deals with the broader policy-related issues as far as the details regarding how to set up a student parking process in the high school. That is typically in the purview of the high school administration. So if you haven't already done so, please share those concerns directly with Ms. Finger.
Okay. All right, moving on to public comment from the public regarding the action agenda.
Or new business, right?
We did new business.
New business from the.
We did new business.
We have.
We did.
So he had new business, and no one else is coming up to the podium. So now. And new business from the board.
Team
Sir.
75 came up. That's not nobody.
Oh, that's not.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't.
Somebody
Yes,
said nobody came up to the mic.
Yes.
Let's hear it for Team 75.
One more time. All right. not only are they competing, but they're also helping with expanding and doing the community service with the science fair on March 9th.
Oh, there you
So
go. That's
another
new
plug,
business.
which was already in the newspaper.
That was new business.
No disrespect. It's an oversight on my part. Apologize. Okay. Now we'd like to solicit comments from the public regarding the action agenda. Okay. Comments from the board regarding the action agenda will occur during the action agenda. So now I'd like to hand it over to the various committee chairs for committee reports. Mr. Pulsifer with the Human Resources Committee.
Human Resources Committee started with a continued discussion of our budget recommendations. We reviewed the recommendations from the administration, and the administration had given us a list of must-haves. So we started with that group, which included 5 technology positions, 4 special ed positions, and 2 Chinese teachers, one for the Otten Road School and one for the high school. We had a lengthy discussion about various pieces of that. Our biggest discussion was on the technology positions. And as I said before in my own personal opinion, but this is part of the discussion we had in the committee, about the importance of continuing to support the technology program, that if we're going to have this much technology infused into our system, both educationally and administratively, we have to make sure that we have support staff and training staff to make sure that we give this every chance it has to succeed. So that was a big part of our discussion. We had an extended discussion about where to take those people from. One of the recommendations from the administration was, I believe, sort of a, I'll use this term, I may not be using it correctly, but a sabbatical where we would pull 2 teachers out to let them be trainers so that they would also learn, and when they went back in the classroom, be that much better at what they're doing and being able to help the other teachers around them. One of the concerns the committee had was, do we want to take our best teachers? It would be good for them to become better teachers with the technology, but taking the best teachers out of the classroom, does that have diminishing returns in terms of just them being in the classroom? So we had a discussion about that. We also discussed a little bit about some of the job titles and exactly how they would be distributed. We left that still as discussion to continue with the administration, but the committee was unanimously in support of having those 5 technology positions, and we would hope that we can continue to work out how to best fill those and how to apply them. But from the purposes of the budget, we definitely agreed that we wanted to have those 5 positions. We also agreed that we did want to keep the Chinese teachers and the special ed positions and fill those also. We followed that discussion with some high priority positions, which included a student assistance counselor at the high school, an increase to the robotics stipend. As you can see, we do great things there, and I think we want to make sure we support that program. Middle school homework help center, elementary guidance counselors, a K-6 science coach, 5 math teachers at the high school, and library clerks. The committee was in support of these positions. However, given the budgetary constraints we have right now, without knowing what the state's number is going to be, the committee did not want to include those in the budget at this time, although we hope that if there is additional funding from the state, that these high priority items do get an opportunity for consideration if there is additional funding available. After discussing the budget, we also discussed extra page coverage positions that were needed and the appointment of a long-term substitute. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Schiff or Mr. Whitlock, that the long-term substitute was actually put in place before this based on the exigent need to get somebody in that position with the expectation that it would be recommended and supported at tonight's meeting.
Yes.
That's correct, yes. And that was the Human Resources Committee meeting.
Education operations. Mrs. Lay with the Education Committee.
We met on February 14th and predominantly spent most of our time on the world language options. So there were 5 options that Mr. Pinkay presented to us, and I'd like everyone to know who was on the task force. Dr. Antunes and the principals of Otten Road and Middle School, and the district supervisors, as well as teachers representing all of the 4 languages, Spanish, French, Italian, and German, were on the task force. So he went into a lot of detail. They spent a lot of time evaluating, and he explained the 5 options. So, of course, one of them is the current program that we have, which includes exploratory of those 4 languages in the middle school, and then at Autumn Road. And now our district is in phase 2 of the world language expansion or conversion. And what the task force recommended to us was option 5. So I'm going to go over what that entails. Option 5 is to offer, we're going to add 1 more language at grade 5, and that would be Chinese. So it's Spanish, Chinese, Italian, French, and German, beginning in grades 5 to continue from through Autumn Road and middle school. And then it would be to recommend Chinese 1 at the high school level, and that's why they were asking for the additional staff. Now, what the committee expressed was concerns for 2 issues. We felt that we needed some more information on how students would be exposed to these languages prior to choosing during grade 5. And also, the second concern was what can students do if they really don't like their choice, or if they're not doing well in their choice. So we asked Mr. Pinkay, who represented the task force, if they could go back and look into those issues a little bit further and come back to the committee with more recommendations. So while we understood the value of option 5, there were some concerns that we would like to flesh out further before the committee makes a recommendation to the full board. And then we just reviewed some policies and some curriculum. It was unanimous on the curriculum and policy, so I don't want to go into detail on that. But really, we spent a lot of time on the world language options.
Okay. Mr. Gillette with the operations.
Thank you. The Operations Committee met February 13th. So I'll tell you about a few of the things we spoke about. Apparently, there's going to be a lacrosse wall at the high school that will be built at no cost to the district, I guess through, if I recall correctly, through donation. What a lacrosse wall does, I couldn't exactly tell you, but it's very important for people who play lacrosse, I'm sure. So I think I'm most concerned with the phrase, at no cost to the district. So it's going in. We spent some time talking about the energy savings improvement plan, which we've spoke about at the board a couple of different times, and you've heard representative of our architect come and speak about it. So what the board needs to decide at this point, not tonight, but our next step is to decide whether we're going to pursue the energy savings improvement plan through a do-it-yourself model or by using an energy savings company. And there were some significant differences between the two. So what we're going to do is we asked the administration to go back to the architect and get some clarification. The way the report that we received from the architect, the way it was worded, it showed that the energy savings company model of pursuing the plan had some, maybe some restraints that were, that the committee maybe wouldn't be in favor of. So we're going to get some clarification on that. we looked at some policies, but this was all just basically the boilerplate type stuff that you have to do. As Mr. Kinst said previously, we're going to meet on March 2nd to review the budget as a whole with the state aid figures put into that. Mr. Mahmood reported on some typical transfer of funds that we usually do. And one other thing, let me see if I can find it. We're going to get some help with computer programming just on a contractual basis, not to exceed $3,000. So some work that I think Mrs. Lay was talking about this earlier, about some of the data we have in our Genesis program. So we'd like to use that data for student, for student achievement and intervention, and we need some code written to get that data out and do something with it. So we're going to hire a contractor pretty cheaply for not to exceed $3,000 to do all of this for us. So that's going to be pretty good. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions or discussion with regard to the committee reports? Okay, I have a question. It was for the Education Committee, the policy that's up for first reading on athletic competition. I know that there historically within the Education Committee there was discussion about the homeschool inclusion, exclusion. If you're going to include it, how would it be? And I know that we are waiting to get information from the administration. So I don't know. I had to leave early, and another committee member had to leave early. So I don't know if that was discussed.
I responded to an email, I think, from Dr. Sosan about that. And I believe that what we decided was that we were going to wait until the NJSIAA came out with their guidelines, because right now they are sort of leaving it up to the local educational agency to determine. After speaking with Mr. Finizzi several times, he reached out to all of his athletic director colleagues, and out of everybody who responded, we received one district that actually does allow the homeschooling population, community, to participate, and there is a lengthy list of qualifications that they have to meet to do so. So I believe that at that time we had decided, and I'd have to go back and triple check the minutes, the Education Committee minutes, that until we got further guidance that we would continue to leave it status quo. Is that your recollection?
That was mine.
Yes, that was mine.
Thank you.
For the student, I don't know who the question is for, but the person who will write the programming for the student achievement, I do know that New Jersey School Boards has invested a lot of time in the Project Lighthouse for student achievement. So perhaps they might have some pilots or some information from other school districts that could help us to determine how to target, how to best program.
We could reach out and talk with them about it, sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions with regard to the committee reports? Okay, we'll move on to the action agenda. Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education: to approve travel and related expenses, approve the HIB investigative list, overnight field trips, approve the following staff members to work at evening kindergarten registration, to approve newly and revised curriculum as listed, to approve policies and regulations for first reading as listed, to approve the policy for use of defibrillators for second reading. We also have an addendum to the agenda, A8, which is to approve the resolution concerning student discipline, which was discussed during executive session this evening.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items A1 through A8 of the action agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Tom, I need to remove,
Sorry,
I need
Mrs.
to remove 88.
Okay, separate out A8, okay. Any other discussion or items? Okay, I'm going to request to separate item, I guess, A6.2, which is the policy for athletic competition. And then I also have a question. The motion to approve policy for second reading. Actually, are there any other separations out for that? Okay. Okay. So we have the motion. Okay, so we're going to have discussion on those items first. So I do have one question with regard to policy 5300, which is use of defibrillators. I just want to confirm that per the policy, there is a requirement to have one automatic external defibrillator device per building. I just want to confirm that we have that in place, or it's soon to be in place.
We have minimally one per building. We have more in the larger buildings.
Okay, and we have staff adequate, the appropriate staff adequately trained.
And above and beyond,
Great.
yes.
Excellent, thank you. Just wanted that clarification. Okay. Okay, any other discussion with items A1 through A8 excluding A6.2?
And A8.
And A8, sorry, through A7. Okay. Keeping track of these, okay. All right, so we will be voting on items A1 through A7, and then we'll take a separate vote on A6.2. And then A8 after that. So again, A1 through A7, excluding A6.2. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Motion passes. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item A6.2.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? My part is on the homeschool piece. I think there was discussion. I don't think there was adequate follow-up yet, so I'm just going to, and I understand it's for first reading, but just wanted to separate that out.
That's fine.
So roll call, any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
No. Motion passes. Okay, now I'd like to entertain a motion for item A8.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Santafonte?
Abstain.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passes. Continuing on with the action agenda, Dr. Schiff.
Very good. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions that I'm recommending under the area of human resources. We have many retirements to announce, and some of these retirements are over 30 years of dedicated service to Hillsborough Township Public Schools. First, Bonnie Alley, German teacher from Alton Road Intermediate, who has worked in the district since 1976. Janet Hartman, grade 6 literacy teacher, also at Alton Road, has worked here since 1976 as well. Wayne Kopp, instrumental music teacher, also at Alton Road, has worked in the district since 1979. Patricia Matheson, music teacher at Triangle School, has worked with us since 1974. Susan Pristas, German teacher, Hillsborough High School, has worked with us since 1992. And Cynthia Sabrera, Spanish teacher at Hillsborough High School, also the past District Teacher of the Year, has been working with us since 1998. Let's give all of these wonderful teachers a round of applause for the service that they've given us. Approve the following resignations as listed. rescind the contract, revise leaves of absences, and approve leave of absences, and appointing a teacher, long-term substitutes, instructional assistant, coaches, substitute bus aides as listed. Also approve the revised classroom observation practicums. Approve the revised student teacher. Approve group changes as listed. And approve extra period coverage.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items B1 through B9 of the action agenda.
On behalf of the Human Resources Committee, I move that the board approve the Human Resources section of the agenda, items B1 through B9 as listed.
Okay, do I have a second? Any discussion for those items? No? Okay, roll call please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Weston?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Motion passes. Continuing on with the action agenda, Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations. Approve the monthly financial reports, line item transfers, accept the monthly bills list, approve the installation of the high school exterior lacrosse wall as reported out of committee, approve the transportation contracts with first student as listed, approve the revised meeting schedule, approve cooperative purchasing agreement with the Hunterdon County Educational Services Commission.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items C1 through C7 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay.
I was thinking about what I was
Any
gonna say.
discussion?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Mr. Gillette?
I was thinking about what I was going to say. The revised meeting schedule calendar,
Yes.
that was for this month coming, that was for March and next year? I forget what that was for.
It is, now that we moved elections to November
Yeah.
and the terms continue on until, I guess, the first meeting in January. So it's the schedule for between now and then.
Right, so what I wanted to mention about that was that we would originally have our first January meeting, I think January 13th or 14th, but the state regulation or law, whatever, provides that for school districts that begin their new year for board members in January, you have to have your meeting by January 7th. So that's why we had to change that. Also, New Jersey School Boards Association recommends that boards actually have two reorganizations, and we talked about this at Operations Committee. I failed to mention it, excuse me. So you would have your reorganization for board members and do other board member-related things like naming committees at that first January meeting, but there are certain other things that you do that you name on a board that are more closely tied to the fiscal year, which starts July 1st. So at Operations Committee, we recommended, and Dr. Schiff is highlighting it there, that we have a date in the second meeting in May. We designate a date to do things like reappoint our professionals like the attorney, the architect, and different things that we reappoint each year, and do other items that are more tied to the either the school year calendar or the fiscal year calendar. So that was that. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gillette.
I wasn't daydreaming, I was just thinking about it.
Mr. Pulsifer.
Just to follow up on that, I just want to point out to the public that the other change to the calendar, which is no longer up there, in order to adhere to this year's budget calendar, we have changed the March meetings also. So these to be March 4th and I believe the 21st, which is Thursday. Because of the strictures that the state puts on us in terms of approving budgets and getting submitted on their calendar, we've had to change those meetings. Just want to point to the public that these are your last two chances to have input. We keep asking, we don't get a lot, but please note that those meetings have changed. If you want to give us input, those are the two meetings to come and speak your piece so that you can have your say on the discussion that we have about the budget.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion with regard to the operations portion of the action agenda? Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Surely. Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Weston?
Yes.
And Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passes. Okay, moving on to old business. First, I'd like to open it up to public comment on old business. Okay.
Last chance to speak.
And, oh, sir. He's leaving. All right. He's anticipating the next. Any discussion on, from any board members with regard to old business? Dr. Sosan.
Two items. The
Sure.
first is that at the last meeting, I mentioned that we were anticipating the pavilion being built out back. It is now built, so if you walk out back, you may be able to see, though it's not that well lit. Everything has been completed except for the cement floor pending better weather, but it is quite nice, and I think the kids will enjoy it for many years to come. And putting my old HSA hat on for a moment, I wanted to thank the board for their participation in that, both from a funding perspective, but also Dave Frisco and his team did a great job and managed that process quite well. So I wanted to alert everybody to that. And the second thing was just to congratulate the girls and boys swim team. But the girls made it to the state semifinals before losing by 2 points to Westfield. So it was a very exciting meet, and the boys lost to Bridgewater in the meet prior to that. So anyway, I just wanted to let the board know that and congratulate the swim team.
Great. Thank you. Any other old business from board members? Mr. Gillette?
Yeah, I'm looking at the clock. Wow, it's like 9:14. This is awesome. And I just wanted to say, speaking of 9:14, I talked to Mr. Rocco the other day, and he informed me that at his new school board, their meetings average between 25 and 30 minutes each meeting. So maybe he made a good move after all for him. I just want to say, I mentioned New Jersey School Boards Association a few minutes ago, and I was reading a recent issue of their Student Leader magazine. I think it was their end of the year double issue, maybe. I'm not sure if they do that, but they had an article there about their, maybe it was something called like the top 10 school law cases of the year. I don't know if anybody read that, maybe. So their number one school law case of the year, which is a case that Mr. Kinst and I have mentioned last year at the board, the case of Ramapo High School. Ramapo High School had a policy where students could be disciplined for behavior activity that took place outside of school hours that had nothing to do with the school, and the discipline was typically to be removed from extracurricular activities. So this was challenged and went back and forth a couple of times, but ultimately the policy was deemed to be not legal. Is that the word? Was not upheld. I don't know exactly how this might connect to random drug testing at Hillsborough High School, but if there is a connection, I will find it, and I will bring it here, and we will find out how we are in violation, because typically students who test positive during a random drug test at our high school is for something that they did outside of school. So I don't know. I think there may be other people smarter than I am that are looking at this also around the state, so we'll have to see.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. Mrs. Haley.
I would just like to remind Mr. Gillette that I attended the school board's convention. Dr. Schiff was also there, Mrs. Lay, I believe Mrs. Haas was there, Dr. Antunes, and Mr. Pulsifer attended the seminar with me where they actually recommended school districts to have policies for random drug testing because of the high occurrence of situations, but
they're going to have to take another look at that after this recent
I agree,
law case.
But it was something that I walked away feeling good about, that the New Jersey State Board's school board recommended it.
All right, and as I've stated before, when the board moves and acts, it acts as a full board, and we've done that this year. So I'll see no other items for old business among the board members. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
Right at the end.
Abstentions? Okay, well, motion passes, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. See you on March 4th, Monday, this coming Monday, with the tentative